returning, coming from what? Coming from the external load. Doing what? Doing moments. Doing moments. Equilibrium is very important to study that our system is safe or not. Let's go for number 4. Number 4. Which is number 4? Our exercise. Our exercise. We see in question number 2 in our slides. We'll go for number 4 in our slides. Referring to the figure. What is the load combination to reduce the maximum uplift on footing A? On footing A. We have foot A. The combination uplift. What does it mean? This footing A, you see my hand? This is in the front of you. Uplifting it will go like this. See my hand? Uplift in this direction. Look in the page. So uplift the foot A, it will take from left hand side to right hand side. Uplift the force coming from down. If the force coming from down, what does it mean? Coming from what? Coming from moment. Coming from moment. So we are going to take moment at this point A. What is the resultant of point? The moment at point A. What is the resultant of the moment? The load combination. It will be dim load plus light load plus. Assume the light load in this direction. What's the combination? Load, when load, what is direction? When load here. Light load and load here. Now assume the light load here. Could be here. What is the combination? Minus. Minus, very important. Because the direction of the wind load is the same direction the moment coming from wind load, the moment coming from wind load, and the moment coming from wind load and light load is in the same direction. Same direction, same direction. Okay. Right. Let us go for our 4/4. 4/4. D. Correct. 4/4 you already have. So 4/4. Wow. What is 4? Right? Wow. Let's go compare to our question number 2. Still we have number 2. We don't finish. We don't finish. This number 2 is this what? Number 2, structural analysis is important because it can be evaluated whether a specific structural design will be able to withstand external and internal. And internal, we take all internal forces like a moment, shear, and the normal force to start development. Take the stresses to start design the element, whatever the structure. It's a technique or standard ID or complete section or whatever beautiful, whatever is suitable for a particular operation. We discuss about it now about equilibrium. Again, equilibrium. Assume this body. What does it mean equilibrium? If you have load here. B1 and we have another load B2 and this angle is 70 degrees and this angle is 60 degrees and I tell you this body is under equilibrium. What does it mean under equilibrium? Under equilibrium means the following. That's B1 here. There is a 2 component, X and Y. X, Y, and X. In B1, should be B1. What side? cosine 30. That's why I told you you have to memorize cosine 30 how much without using the calculator. B1 sine 30. Okay, here. B2 sine 60. And here B2 cosine 60. Load. The weight of the body. Load. And reaction. For sure, 100%. Reaction 1. Reaction. All of you write for me the formula of xy equals z, and the x, sigma x is equal 0, sigma y is equal 0. What is the formula? Write it down. طيب انا الحصه بس عشان البلديه اخلص واكلمك. اخلص اكيد لازم اكيد مش okay, what is the sigma x? Sigma x is what for what? Sigma x should be what? Should be b1 cosine 50 plus b2 cosine 60 equal 0. This formula number 1 should be 0. Sigma y should be 0. Means what? Means the w plus b1 sine 60 plus b2 sine 60 plus r1 and r2 should be 0. Did I put any sign? Did I put any sign? No. Because for sure, when you say plus, means this is minus. Up, down, right, left, right. Because this is right. Coming left, you minus. Here, right, plus. Use this, put the equation, and after that, you put the sign letter 2, the direction of x, y, z. Okay? Sigma moment is equal 0 means what? Any moment here, it will give you always the force giving moment here. This force giving moment here. This force giving moment here. This force giving moment here and here should be equal to 0. Means the system is under equilibrium. If you take the moment at any point and it's not equal 0, that means what this point can be uplifted or overturning or side. If the moment is not equal 0, you believe something wrong. You have to design the system which stands the forces. By question number 2 now, we understand what does it mean, why we start structure analysis. Why? Now we understand. Okay. Go for question number 5. If two engineers from you solve question number 5, correct? You will go for 5 star, 8 for 0, for 1. I will pay for it. 5 star. In the same time, I will give him more. This 2 minutes, 13 seconds. Question number 5. If 2 engineers from all of you solve question number 5 correct, we will go for 5 star. 9. يبقى 4 over 4 right 4 over 4 number 5 is a challenge. You have 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Okay. And anyone further? Anyone further? Then, how many minutes now? How many minutes now? This type of questions, need for you to understand and to start solving, to start solving 5 to 10 minutes. So what you do, assume you are going to have this question, the first screen in your exam. What you do is check it. Very good. Okay. You try. Almost 2 minutes. Take the effort. Why we are here? We are here to push you in a right direction. It's not to be funny. Assume we are going to solve it now. We will give all, we are going to give all the answer. And the mechanism of the answer. We are at. And you know the mechanism. The similar questions might become true. But you know the mechanism. How to solve it. So what you do? Assume this is a first screen and you don't know. You choose the right any answer from the 4 options in 10 seconds. And remark it. And we can back to it later. Don't waste any time to solve such this silly question. Silly question. But once you get the mechanism and you are far away from the study guidance, don't say that you are coming with now. No, you take time. You take 30 hours. You are here for 50 hours too. The 50 hours judge yourself. Your exam, you will have such question many different with the same mechanism. So you will solve it later. You will finish your 27 questions in 30 minutes. You will be going to first round. First round. Second round, you will come back to the questions which you already solved and remarked. Because in the skill, you can come back to 8 questions. But why you say remark? For the questions you have done. Don't remark all the 27 questions. Okay? To solve this question, what is the key? What is the key? To solve this question, where exactly the overturning point? To solve this one is equilibrium. Here we have how many points? We have 4 points and 1 point. Second point. Third point, fourth point. Overturning. Due to this section, due to this load, could be flexion happen here or not. Can happen here flexion due to this load. From the CG of the bone, correct? But he is not asking you about flexion. The system is asking you about overturning. Which point? A, ولا B, ولا C? Why I need to choose that overturning point? Because I will take moment, the sigma moment at this point should be 0 from this equation and will calculate B. The load in this side, where is the nearest point? B ولا C ولا B ولا A? Where is the nearest point? This system can overturning heat you B? Yeah, this system gives a lot too much, more than the limit. The load giving moments in this direction. Where is the nearest point for this load? C. You are overturning where? Here. Around C. It cannot be B because B is one rigid condition. Rigid condition. It cannot be overturning because B is like the rigid condition we have what the action load in this one, in this foundation. From this action load, we will calculate how many output volts fixed in this foundation, the size of foundation. And you're taking for foundation. It's not for the system. He's asking you about total unit of the system. You are considering this is 1 unit now. If 1 unit now is meaning what? This is rigid, cannot be cannot be A. How come only uplifting? Only uplifting. Uplifting at A. That is overturning at C. Uplifting at A. See? If you will tell you uplifting, you got A. Uplifting. Overturning, the nearest point. Okay, sliding is different. Sliding is different. What is sliding is fraction. Fraction. Should be what? All sigma, all the vertical forces divided all the horizontal forces multiply it 10 between the foundation and the solid line. We call it 10 mu, layer fraction. Coefficient should be more than 1.5. Okay? Later on we'll discuss about this one in solid. Type. What is the equation? The equation then I will take a measuring line, we call it I. That means what? All the forces from this line in the right hand giving moment at this point, correct? And all the forces in the left hand side giving moment at C as well, correct? Should be all of them 0. Okay. How many here? 7,000. The counter weight is 7,000 pounds. You have first conversion, we want 7,000 pounds divided 1,000 equal 7 kgs. 7 kgs. You have a kilo pound. You have a kg, 1 kg equal 1,000 pounds. In your exam, 90% from your exam is from kg. This feet pound second. Feet pound second, the British units. 90%. 90% of your exam, which is coming from this unit, standard units. Layer the foot pound second. FPS. FPS standard units. Okay? FPS. You have 7,000 divided 1 equal 1 kg. Now here, how many? 3,000. 3,000 divided 1, you have 3 kgs. Here is 20. 20,000, 20 kgs. Here is 1,000, 1 kg. Here is B. The equation is very simple. Now, class, you solve it now. What is the right hand? The right hand is B. Multiply what? Multiply 15 plus 5 minus 3. Because this fit is 6, multiply 6. You add 10 plus 5 minus 3 is equal to 12. Plus 1 plus 1. 1. This forces make moment here. This is like see. You have 1, 2. This direction. Plus 1 multiply 5 minus 3, 2. Should be equal what? The left hand side. The left hand side is 3. With 20 in the same line of action. Same line of action, yani the forces is the same line. Both of them is the same line. You have 2, 3 plus 20 is equal to 23. 23. Giving moment in this direction. See? This direction. You have 2 plus 3. Both of them multiply 3. Plus what? Plus this force. Lay 7. Multiply 7 plus 3 يبقى 10. 7 multiply 10. خلاص. From this equation, you get 3. See? If you don't know the mechanism, you will take almost 10 minutes to understand it. But now you know it, خلاص. Now you understand it. If the same equation gave you what you are going to do, you know the mechanism later. Now, what is the B? Give me now. Calculate the B for me. Something. Guys, how many? B is what? How many? Yes. How many? 11.41. 11.41. 11.41 is this my calculation. Assume there is a very fat cat. This cat, the weight of this cat is almost 10 pounds. Walking here, cat, and come stand. What will happen? About here this load in the same time, what will happen? And this load is 11.41. What will happen? So what will they back to the miss? Will not go for 11.4. That's why the answer is what? The answer. How many answers you have? How many answers you have? You have 4. One is 7.5. Second one 10.75. And 13.25 and 11. So you have two answers is far away, which was 7.5 and 13.25. Which answer you will take? You will take B, one of D. Perfect. Now you are in the hole. D. You will see D. I will take D. Level. Did you mean more than that after 4 months from now? Your exam after 4 months from today. If this question tells you what you are going to memorize, for sure you are going to memorize COVID-based. Guys, I love you. COVID-based. COVID-based. But now you know it is. You know how to solve it. And at the same time, you are going to memorize it with the fat cat. Plus, no way, the fat cat. The fat cat has 11. Plus, you don't need even to study more than that. For this question, you keep it in our questions and answers in our exams. So I wish all of you, it is such a question. You will follow 15 to 16. Your exam for 15 to 16. What else you need? You need some effort for yourself and apply. And you find for it for yourself. Apply plus 15 hours. You have to use course for it. That's why the KPI for basic criteria A grade and international is 97%. The total is for first attempt, 97% from them pass the exam. 3 from the second. But one of you will pass the exam from first attempt, or I will tell everybody. Class? Okay? Guaranteed 5-star on them, and you will get homework. Each question you will not answer it or try to answer it, you will pay me 1 year. If you don't answer it or try to answer it, means what? Try to answer it wrong or right. Try. If you fail to try, you will be in 1 question. And I will give you 5-star hotel. Do that. Pass. I will make 5-star hotel. Dinner for all of us. And you will pay for me 1 year. Agree? Go for number 5. Let us go for number 5. You are now 4 over 5. 4 over 5. Number 5. Number 5. 6, sorry, number 6. Now we solve number 5. Number 6. Go for number 6. I will give you 3 minutes. And anyone, any engineer, one engineer only, one engineer solve this question in 3 minutes, I will go for 5-star hotel. I will go for 5-star hotel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 engineers. If even 150 for each engineer, 1,500. I am ready to pay now. See, point nine, we are paying that's very important page to page plus. I come in, close this one. I can go to one, don't be quick. Hey guys, let us go here. This is You have a wall. And anyone solve it? Trying, guys. Look. You will see it because we are not studying for 100 years. Look, our brain is kind of concrete now. Broke now, because we are not studying. But once you study one time, you found yourself it's easy to solve this problem. Now, look at me. You are inclined wall panel. This wall panel, imagine كده, it's already inclined in this wall. And I have a hook, this hook here in the middle of our fly, our river, and hooked by wire with shell or roller need to move this wall panel. And I have hook here. Okay? So the point we are pulling the wall. What does it mean? The wall is like that. But if you look at it from here, I will find the wall like that. So what is the dimension now? What is the dimension now? Which one, 12 or 14, and which one, 20? Height 14. Which is here what? What is now? This is side view. Side view. I am looking at it like that. And this is elevation. Huh? So if this 14 and this is 20. That means this is what? 14. Right. Side view. And the load here is W, and the F is here. The F is perpendicular to the table now. F. The whiteboard. F. Which is F here. You look at it from the side. And if you look at from here, the F here is ready. And the W is coming here, but W here. Now it's become more easier. How I will calculate the W? W is equal what? The W equal. This is 4 inch, right? Well, I will 4 inch. You have in 4 inch divided 12 to convert it inch to feet. Multiply 14, multiply 20, multiply in units.